Paul Di'Anno, Iron Maiden's singer on their first two albums, has died at age 66. The vocalist had been suffering from a myriad of health issues in recent years. The sad news was reported by Di'Anno's record label, Conquest Music, which issued the following statement. On behalf of his family, Conquest Music are sad to confirm the death of Paul Andrews, professionally known as Paul Di'Anno. Paul passed away at his home in Salisbury at the age of 66. Born in Chingford, East London on May 17, 1958, Paul first came to prominence as lead singer of English heavy metal band, Iron Maiden between 1978 and 1981. He sang on their groundbreaking debut album Iron Maiden, and the influential follow-up release, Killers. Since leaving Iron Maiden, Paul Di'Anno had a long and eventful recording career with Battlezone and Killers as well as numerous solo releases and guest appearances. Despite being troubled by severe health issues in recent years that restricted him to performing in a wheelchair, Paul continued to entertain his fans around the world, racking up well over 100 shows since 2023. His first career retrospective album, The Book of the Beast, was released in September 2024 and featured highlights of his recordings since leaving Iron Maiden. Conquest Music are proud to have had Paul Di'Anno in our artist family and ask his legion of fans to raise a glass in his memory. Following brief stints as Iron Maiden's singer by Paul Day and Dennis Wilcock, Di'Anno took over as the band's frontman in 1978. As mentioned in the statement above, Di'Anno handled vocals on Maiden's first two albums, 1980's self-titled LP and 1981's Killers, helping to establish the band as leaders of the new wave of British heavy metal. He was fired from the band in 1981 due to his drug and alcohol use, and was replaced by Bruce Dickinson, who would go on to become the definitive singer of Iron Maiden. In the years after Maiden, Di'Anno formed his own heavy metal project, Paul Di'Anno's Battlezone, releasing a pair of full-length albums in the 1980s and a comeback effort in 1998. The singer also briefly fronted Nwabame band Praying Mantis in the early 90s before forming Killers alongside members of Tank, Raven, and Battlezone. That group dropped 2 LPs during its run from 1991 through 1997. In recent years, Di'Anno dealt with serious health issues, including 2 knee replacement operations from past motorcycle accidents that left him confined to a wheelchair. Di'Anno was born and grew up in Chingford, East London. Because of his Brazilian father, Di'Anno holds dual British and Brazilian citizenship. He spent his teenage years singing in various rock bands and working as a butcher in Station Road and as a chef in hotels and restaurants. According to Iron Maiden's The History of Iron Maiden: The Early Days DVD, he was introduced to the band by drummer Doug Sampson, an old friend of Harris's from his days in the band Smiler. It was around this time that he first adopted the stage name Di'Anno, which he would later use to claim Italian descent. Their first audition with Rod Smallwood reputedly failed when Di'Anno was arrested for showing off his pocket knife in public. The band's 1980 self-titled release quickly became acknowledged as a classic of its genre, as the band merged punk's energy with metal's riffs and progressive rock complexity, serving as the blueprint for such future genres as thrash metal and speed metal and influencing later progressive metal bands. 1981 saw the release of their second album, Killers, as well as a stopgap live EP, Made in Japan. Iron Maiden decided that to progress they would have to find a singer capable of being on tour. They found a replacement in former Sampson frontman Bruce Dickinson. Di'Anno's last show with the band was on September 10, 1981 at the Oddfellows Mansion in Copenhagen, Denmark. In 1981, Di'Anno left Iron Maiden after a meeting with the band and their manager Rod Smallwood. In Di'Anno's words, "It's like having Mussolini and Adolf Hitler run your band. Because it is Rod Smallwood and Steve Harris and that's it. There can't be anyone else and my character is too strong for that, so me and Steve was always fighting." Di'Anno was paid out by Smallwood at the time of his departure and does not receive royalties on Iron Maiden songs. After the breakup of his self-titled band, Di'Anno formed Strike with Diral, who recruited drummer Bob Falk and the Hurley brothers John and Chas. The project was eventually named Battlezone, after a name straight from a comic book, upon the vocalist's return to Britain in 1985. 1986 saw the enrollment of former Lone Wolf and Tokyo Blade guitarist John Wiggins. After being dropped by BMG, Praying Mantis disbanded. Then, in a spinal tap-ish twist of fate, Paul Di'Anno called Dennis Stratton in 1989, about the Japanese wanting to have a 10-year anniversary of the new wave of British heavy metal. The band found themselves enjoying a renaissance in Tokyo, Japan, prompting a reformation and tour in April 1990, which yielded the Live at Last LP. Killers was formed back in the summer of 1991. Cliff Evans was living in New York with Arnie Goodman, the manager of Fastway. Steve Hopgood, who played in Battlezone with Di'Anno previously, called Evans and outlined his plans for a new band. Di'Anno and Hopgood flew over to New York from the UK where they formed a band. Within a few days, Killers had hired John Gallagher to play bass on a short-term basis. Former member of Drive She Said and New York session player Ray Detone was brought in on second guitar. Shortly afterward, a live album called Assault on South America was recorded, featuring a number of Iron Maiden and Battlezone tracks and covers of We Will Rock You and Smoke on the Water. This was funded by Rock in Rio promoter Carlos Genesio and to be released primarily for the South American market. Recorded in Brazil, Argentina and Venezuela in summer of 1993 is splashed on the back cover. However, according to John Gallagher, the South American tour fell through, so the entire album was recorded on a mobile recording truck in New York. Later, a Canada-based record company called Magnetic Air Productions issued a pirate release worldwide, under a different cover, with no royalties being paid to the band. Early 2008, Di'Anno toured Norway and later Eastern Europe in 2009 with an all-Norwegian backing band consisting of musicians Henrik Rick Hagen, Argog Stad, John Vegard Nies and Anders Buez. Anders Buez was later replaced by guitarist Rickard Nilsson. The band went on to do several tours of Sweden, and made festival appearances at Hard Rock Hell, Vox Baton, Tons of Rock, Sweden Rock Festival and Rock Against Narcotics, before doing a tour of Sweden in the summer of 2015. The band has also toured with Blaze Bayley and Tim Ripper Owens. Di'Anno was, before being jailed in March 2011, recording a new solo album with Paolo Turin, the guitarist who worked on Feel My Pain and Nomad. The album was being produced by Dieter Roth in his studio in Germany. However, work on the album ceased due to record company problems. He maintained an extensive world tour schedule, including 2 recent trips through America where traditional metal band Icarus, which served as both his opening and backing band. In June 2012, Di'Anno was given the freedom of the city of Bariloche in Argentina for charitable work carried out several years ago. Di'Anno was due to make his final performance on August 30, 2020 at the Beermageddon Festival in Brahms Grove, England before he retired from touring, though he has not clarified on whether he will continue to record music. This appearance was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, with the festival dates rescheduled for August 2021. However, on June 7, 2021, Paul and the Ides of March band were removed from the lineup with the following statement: "We here at Beermageddon are gutted to announce Ides of March will no longer be appearing at this year's festival. We had been struggling to contact the band or management, and just over a week ago had the news that the planned project will not be going ahead, and as such the band will not appear at Beermageddon. 2021 we were so looking forward to Paul Di'Anno and a lineup of past Iron Maiden members gracing the Geddon stage. It would have been one of the most memorable festival appearances we have ever had. But sadly it isn't to be. I know many of you had huge anticipation for Di'Anno's farewell show, and we feel your pain, but we do promise Beermageddon will still be the fantastic festival it always is." In February 2011, Di'Anno was convicted on 8 counts of benefit fraud for claiming more than £45,000 under false pretenses. On March 11, 2011, he was jailed for 9 months at Salisbury Crown Court. He only served 2 of the 9 months to which he was sentenced, being released early for good behavior. Di'Anno's religious affiliation is made uncertain by his own words. He has given interviews that contradict each other on this subject, perhaps as a practical joke. He has a tattoo on the back of his head that says 666 and God equals sucker. According to his autobiography, he converted to Islam in the 1990s after reading the Quran. However, he has subsequently reversed that position, saying, "I think religion kills everybody. I don't believe in it. No, my father was a Muslim, I must admit. But I don't give a fuck." In later interviews, Diano clarifies that he never was a true Muslim, that he never stopped drinking, but tried to become a better person by applying some of the Muslim philosophies to his life. His autobiography furthers the confusion. In various passages he claims to be Muslim, Catholic, Jewish, and Aboriginal. Diano has been married 5 times and has 6 children.